Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Tuesday night's Small Talk with Lena's Adventures. I'm so glad to be here today. Today, I'm so excited because we have a wonderful guest on here tonight. She'll introduce herself. Well, let me just introduce her. Her name is Maya Thomas, and today she's going to be talking about her book, Coping with Adoption. And she's also the founder of Baby Bump and Beyond. Hello, Maya. How are you? Glad to have you on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm doing well. I'm so glad that we finally were able to get together because I love Lena's adventure. It's just,
Oh,
a beautiful thing, and I really support like what you have going on and everything. So I'm glad you invited me.
thank you. I'm so glad to have you here. So let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and
So I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia, and I currently live in Georgia, Marietta. And let's see, I have three babies, so
all
three
right.
kids and a dog. I'm also, you know, owner of Baby Bump and Beyond, and so we'll get more into that a little bit later. But a part of that is what I've done since the book. So
Okay, so let's get into this book. This book is just amazing. Your story is amazing. I just look at you and I'm so proud of you because I remember when you were just a little girl. I mean, I remember.
yes.
So this book is, guys. Here's the book if you can see it. So please get into and tell us the story and why this book was written.
So I got pregnant when I was 16. And I ended up putting my son up for adoption. For a long time after that, like years later, it's always, resonated with me.
Right.
Um, it was just hard because it wasn't something I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I never imagined, let alone being pregnant at 16, I never imagined even going through an adoption process, because my other kids, that's not something that I chose. But even back then, before I had any other children, it was just like, oh, I got pregnant and then I was in the church heavy. So I said, after, all the years of dealing and struggling with it, I said, I want to kind of tell my story to other people and not necessarily like bashing adoption, because a lot of people have this impression that I wrote my book because I'm like against adoption.
Right.
Not at all. It's just my story as a memoir, my version of what I went through in having to interact and engage with adoption in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drew me to writing my book. And then I wanted to help other young girls, young women who might have come across, these situations, similar
Right.
scenario, and just know like you're not by yourself. And then also in the Black community, it's taboo.
Right.
Typically it is to do adoption and to be so young and to actually talk about it too. So that's kind of what led up to that.
Okay, so you wrote the book. So tell us the journey to how you um they have to get the book, but how that you had a son,
Yes.
and that how the story happened, like
Okay.
how
So
you weren't you didn't really want to give your child up, but because you were young, you had
yeah.
no choice.
Yeah, so I was 16, and it was hard telling my parents, well, my family in general. And like I said, I grew up in a church, and that was just shunned upon, and get pregnant and you're not married. And so then, because I was in a church, my family was in the church, they were like ashamed
Right.
of the fact that I got pregnant so young. And they gave me an ultimatum. They were like, hey, either you're going to have this baby and let it go in the system and
Mm.
leave it at the hospital. Actually, where was the words like, you have the baby, you leave it at the hospital, and then, or you put up for adoption. Like, you can't come back home with this baby.
Wow.
And so I was like, I didn't know, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I know I want to keep my baby, but it was all of the negativity surrounded around it. It was just like, well, you're too young. You can't, do this, and we're not going to support you. And, the my son's father side of the family, they were kind of like, if you go ahead through it and don't let your family intimidate you into making a decision, will help. But they were like, you're gonna have to work through this. And it was hard because I was 16 and I didn't know a lot of the options that were out there. Like, later on, I found out that I could have actually survived. I'm not the first, and I wouldn't be the last teenager who got pregnant young. But my family made me feel like I was inadequate so much. And so, when I had my
And
son.
I know it caused a lot of division between you and your family, because of the decision they made you make. So tell us, going down the line, what made you decide to go find your son?
So I knew the family, actually. Like, I was presented with this family from somebody that I was close with, and they were like, hey, I know a couple who would love to adopt, and maybe it'll be different if they weren't in the process yet of doing the adoption. So they would have had to go through it, but they were like, well, maybe if you know the people, it'll be different instead of just having to pick random family. So I met the family and we went through, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I only got to be with my son for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital and then, like, it was crazy because the doctor was like, well, he's going to be circumcised, so he can stay an extra day, which brought on the 3 days, because I had to stay in longer than the 3 day, than just a day or two, because I had a cesarean. So, he was like, go ahead and you can spend time. So I was in the room with my son and I bonded and stuff a little bit. But after the 3rd day, that was it. And so the family took him, and that was that. So I've always kind of kept up with the family. And then I think one day I decided to, like, I would go visit. I would go visit him, and we would set up days to visit. And then one day I visited him, and the visit stopped. Like, we had agreed on a visit, and then the visit stopped. I was told that I wasn't going to be able to meet with him anymore. And the whole while I was meeting with him, he never knew who I was. I was never disclosed. Like,
right. I've read that in the book. I was about to ask you. So you never told him that you were his mom?
No.
Who did he think you were?
A friend of the family. They were like, hey, friend of the family. Excuse my dog.
Okay.
I was a friend of the family. So it's like, hey, this is Maya. At least they did give me my name. They're like, it's Maya. And all he knew was I was this lady, this random woman who would come visit him and bring him gifts. Like, every time I visited, I would buy him a gift and I would give him something that he liked. We would get on the phone every so often, maybe like once a year, maybe. And that was around his birthday. And I'd be like, hey, and I'll be like, how are you? Just casual conversation. He really couldn't get deep because he didn't know. So that's who I was for a long time. And then when he turned 10, that's when it came out for him that I was his mother.
Oh, wow. So who told it? The family or?
Yeah, the family. Actually, his mom, who he deals with, his adopted mom, she was like, you know what, Maya, I've been thinking about it, and I've been thinking like it's time. And I was like, are you serious? And a lot of people don't know that my oldest daughter, my middle child, her father ended up being deceased. He ended up being killed. So we had to come there back to Virginia for the funeral. And like all of that happened the same weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
So
that's a lot of
so
emotions and
it
a lot
was
of,
a lot. So when I was just coming to tell her, I was like, well, I'm gonna be in town. I didn't tell her why I was there. I was like, I'm gonna be in town. Do you think it's possible I could see him? And she was like, I've been thinking, and yeah, not only can you see him, but I think it's time to tell him. And
wow.
so yeah, it just
So
unfolded from
can you
there.
take us to that day? How did he react?
So literally, I went to my daughter's dad's wake. And then right after that, I dropped her off and I went and met him. So he already knew that I was his mom because she had already sat down and
Okay.
had the conversation
Mm-hmm.
with him
Okay.
about, hey, this is your mom. And we took pictures along the way with the visits. So it wasn't like she didn't have anything to show. But then come to find out, like when me and him sat down and had a conversation. So I got there, we met, and he just ran up to me and gave me a hug. And he was like,
Wow.
wow, you're my mom. And so she allowed us to go privately and talk. And we got ice cream.
Oh,
And um he was just asking me questions. And for him to be 10 was it was intense. So he said, well, I always knew that I was different. I just didn't know why.
oh, wow.
And he also said that he asked me, like, so why? What happened? And I always would like think about this day. Like, what is that going to feel like? What is that going to look like when he starts asking me all these questions? But, I don't have a relationship with my mother. So I've made a vow to myself that when this day came, I was going to be, transparent as much as I could for his understanding, depending on what age he would be. And so I just told him, I was young. My family didn't agree with me keeping you, and I had to give you a better situation, a better home. And he was like, hold on. So when you're 16, that means you couldn't drive, right? I was like, no, I couldn't drive. No, I didn't have a job. No, I hadn't graduated high school. So, and he just was like, wow, I look like you. And where's my father, like my biological father, and
Now,
things.
that's what I was going to ask you. What part does the father play in this now?
That same day or evening, I allowed him to talk to him on the phone because we still had contact. So I just called him and he got to talk to him and he froze. He was like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
that's my dad on the phone. Like, that's my biological dad. And even though he wasn't there to, see him, he just was really excited. And when we parted ways, like at the end of the visit, he was, he said, well, I love you and I've always loved you, even though I didn't know you. And that
Wow.
really like struck a chord. I was like, are you serious? Like,
Wow.
you never even knew. You never knew me. Like, I guess in the womb,
Right.
build that, even though you don't think it's a connection, it's there. And
Yeah.
so I guess that's something that he still, felt and had. And he said he had a dream too. He was like, I had a dream, and God was like, you those aren't your parents. He was like, that's not your parents. And he said, I thought it was like weird. Like I was just dreaming. And he said in a dream, he was like, what are you talking about? These aren't my parents. And then here we were. So that's kind of the gist of how it went.
So how old
And
is he now?
he will be 14
Oh, okay.
this
Now, do
year.
y'all still communicate?
We don't. That's no longer happens because
Wow.
when he found out that didn't settle too well with his adoptive dad, and because they didn't agree on him knowing. So when he found out, he was like, I don't. He made it hard. He's made it hard for us to talk. So it was kind of weird. It's kind of like 50-50 when you get in that place because as the first mom now is what they call us in the adoptive world. As a first mom, you're like, I want them to know, but what if they act out, or what if they're upset with me? What if they hate me? Like, I didn't know what to think.
Mm-hmm.
So, is he gonna be happy? Whatever. So when he found out, and I was just snatched, we were just snatched away like that, no more contact.
Wow.
I did find out that later on he said that he wished that he could have been able to talk to me, and that he's upset. Um, but some things are just out of my control, and I have to get to a place to be at peace with the fact that it's not okay. It's not fair. I don't feel like it's fair, but he won't be a child forever. And that's what I have to go back to.
Yeah, you guys are connected. So that's the last time you talked to him, when he was 10?
When he was 10.
Oh, 4 years ago. Wow.
Yes. And then just trying to keep up during the pandemic. So
Oh, wow.
trying to check in and see like, hey, and then I'm still a mom, nonetheless. So I have 2 girls, and just everything that's going on in the world, you want to be able to connect with your children and check in and make sure they're okay, and where's their mental state and things of that nature. And these are conversations I can't have with him, because not only is he just my child, but he's also my son. He's my firstborn. And then he's the little Black boy in America.
Yeah.
And I question, what are the things that run through his mind when he's seeing some of the things that are happening in our nation. So
even his adopted mom didn't want to contact you after the husband said no.
Actually, she did. She wanted to, she still sends me pictures. And they're actually, no longer together. So that also causes a rift there.
So who is he with? The father?
He visits between the 2.
Oh, wow.
That's even harder.
That's harder because now he's in a broken home.
So now, like, what is this, 14 years later, I'm sitting up here like, what was better? Like, what he would have been with me, I would have been struggling. But now he's, not only does he know, not only did they separate before he found out, but then he found out about me. And so now it's like, I can't have my biological mom, or I can't even have her a part of my life. And then the people that I've always acknowledged as my family
are broken up,
are split.
Yeah, that's oh, wow.
Tough pill to swallow, but I mean, what can you do?
Well, like you said, he will be 18 one day, and our prayers for you to unite. So tell us how Baby Bump and Beyond came about this also.
So after I wrote my book, I was like, I want to continue to help, families, women, young women especially. And so Maya's Empowerment Center was birthed after the book. So after the book and before Baby Bump and Beyond. And so Maya's Empowerment Center was there for me to donate baby supplies, but specifically car seats, to families and women who are in need. So I just started like getting on Facebook and was like, hey, who needs, and I created my website and everything. And I was like, reach out to me on Facebook or via my website and let me know if you're in need. I had a waiting list to put together of women who reached out to me. Hey, this is my story. This is my situation. So I ended up donating baby supplies and car seats all like over the country. It's crazy.
Wow, awesome.
So yeah, California, here in Georgia, back home. It's a lot of places, a lot of women who reached out. So I was like, I just feel like a blessing. And so then Baby Bump and Beyond came about because at the same time when I was doing the book and Maya's Empowerment Center, I was also studying to be a labor doula. And for those people who don't know what a labor doula is, it's a support person for physical and emotional support. So you have your midwife, nurse that helps, or the doctor that helps the baby come out, and then you have a support person, and that could be male or female. And so then I was like, you know what, I want to continue to help women in that capacity. So I've been in the medical field, but I wanted to serve people in a different way. And so that's when I came up with Baby Woman and Beyond, because we do labor doula support, pregnancy
Wow.
fitness, um, and also diaper cakes. I make diaper cakes. And now Maya's Empowerment Center will be merging with Baby Boom and Beyond, so that I can provide labor doula services and CPR services. I'm a CPR instructor, so that falls under there too.
Okay.
And CPR services to these women who want labor doula services, but they don't have access. So
Oh,
the
wow.
funds aren't there. They don't have insurance that covers it. So I'm trying to find a balance there to where I'm creating a program for women and families if they have their, spouse, significant other, to bridge that gap. So they'll be able to have that support person. And it's a little different in the climate we're in with the pandemic.
Yeah.
People still need that support and that help. So, in
That
an
is
hospital.
great. That is awesome. I mean, look, you're doing, I mean, sometimes um our heartbreaks can turn into,
Yes.
our testimonies, and it can turn into our stories,
Yes.
and how we overcame, and just like with Lena, things
Yes.
I went through, and how I want to give back, and the things you've been through, and how you're giving back, and there's so many other people out there, but we need to connect. And I noticed that you had said that you donate gifts and stuff. I'm going to connect you with somebody. She does love boxes, and she does boxes for Lena, and she does a great job. And I'm gonna, when the show's over, I'm connect you with her, because maybe y'all can connect to with the gifts and things that you can have her. I mean, she does a wonderful job. So I'm gonna talk about that after the show, and I
Thank
want to
you.
connect you with her, because I think the connection, when we connect with people, and we all put our businesses and our creativity and
Yes.
our everything together, that's how we win. And
Hmm.
so we have to stick together. But your story is remarkable. I mean, I just remember, like I said, I remember you being a quiet little shy girl at the church, and you was raised by your grandmother, and you were such a good little girl. You always behaved very well. And so I remember when this came out, and I remember you um not being there no more, and I never knew what happened to you.
Yeah,
So,
a lot. That happened a lot. A lot of people were like, Maya, like, what happened? And then we
like, we
went through
didn't
that.
see you anymore.
And then we went through the whole process. Like, I think for a short time, people saw me, but then they didn't see a baby.
Right.
And so
Right.
they were like, you were pregnant. No, you're not pregnant. Where's the
Where's the
baby?
baby?
And
Yeah.
so that was even more traumatizing, I feel like, than anything, because then not only did I have to deal with it behind closed doors and internally, but then you have people like, where's the baby? Where's the baby? Where's your what did you have? What happened? And so you start having to deal with all of these unfolding, feelings and
Right.
questions that you might really not want to answer. And I don't think a lot of people were like, you have some people who just want to be in business. And then you have some people who are sincere and they're like, hold on, what happened? Are you
Yeah.
okay? But you have to carry around a lot of burden and a lot of pain that is hard to talk about.
Right.
So I'm glad that as an adult, and even in the hospital, the nurses and stuff were like, you're going to be somebody important. And I used to be like, I'm 16. I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to land after this. Like, my life is in shambles. I'm
Wow.
like, what do you mean? And they were like, you're going to end up doing something really special. You just don't know it yet, what it is. And God will open that door and show you what it is. And so it hasn't been easy. It's still not easy, but it's where my heart is. And I just know that even if I always say in my book, if I help one person, that's better than helping nobody. And before I leave this world, I have a legacy that I want to leave, even for my girls. They might not understand my story in its entirety, but it still connects to a bigger purpose. and beyond myself.
Absolutely. And God is going to see you through this, and He's seen you through it. And I mean, just to go through what you went through and to be able to write a book about it and to share your story with people. I remember for a minute you didn't share it. You were nervous about sharing it, and you were dealing with hurting people. Sometimes you don't want to, say things because you think you might hurt the people that raised you. But sometimes we have to live in our truth because it's our truths.
Yes.
It's not somebody else's to live.
No.
So I know it probably hurted a little, bit for your father and your grandmother, different people in your life, but you had to, this is your story to tell. It was not theirs.
Yes, it was tough. It was tough. And to this day, actually some people are like, well, do you even talk to your family? And I actually do talk to my family. We're not in that place where we can have that conversation about what has happened, what in the ins and outs, because I got to a point where I was like, look, we weren't talking for a while, long time. And then I got to a place and I also was like, you know what? If you don't feel like whatever happened was something that was wrong, you felt like you had to do whatever you felt like you needed to do, then that's fine, because you have to deal with that. That's when you and God, and we're not going to discuss this because I don't want to get upset. I don't want to have an argument. I don't want to go through all of that. And then I go to counseling too. I really believe in counseling.
Yeah, amen.
I'm a big advocate, and I know in our community, it's like, oh no, you going to therapy. Oh, you need help. Like, what's wrong? Like, I'm like, no, I need to go because if I can't pour from an empty cup. And if I'm not okay, my girls aren't okay. The people who know me as sister, cousin, whoever I'm connected with, I cannot be valuable to or pour into them with any kind of valuable, nuggets or whatever I have to offer if
You're empty.
if I'm broken and empty. And I think it's a continuous thing where you work on daily. It's never just, oh, I'm fixed. No, I'm not necessarily fixed, but I do have better tools to deal with stress. So that we've all dealt with the pandemic, so we know what stress,
Right.
even before the pandemic, but now it's heightened. So to deal with stress, to deal with grief, to deal with whatever, I need better tools to be able to be equipped to deal with those. So that's what I've also done to help my healing. And whatever I had to get to a place where no matter what anybody else does, I have to be accountable for my actions, my feelings, and I'm entitled to feel however I want to feel. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to ask for permission to
feel
be angry, upset, sad, happy, okay in the moment or for a certain length of time. I just have to know that, that's my like you said, that's my truth. And anybody else outside of that, that's something that they have to, that's their cross to bear. So.
Right. And like I said, we're entitled to our truths, and it helps us because also people think, you lost physically too, but a loss is anything, loss of your son, loss of your children's fathers, loss, people don't understand a loss. It takes time to heal and mend and get back to, it's tough.
It is.
Not only dealing with loss, but dealing with your everyday life, being a single parent, paying the bills, trying to keep a roof over your head, trying to keep food on your table. So a lot of times, you need that, what everybody call it, you need a village. And we need a village. And one thing about us, I say us people, we don't stick together like we really should. We really don't. We really need to do better in being a village for each other.
Yeah.
And a village doesn't mean just because you have kids. A village means just having good friends when you need to talk to them, or, when you need an outlet. Hey, do you want me to watch your children while you just take a mental break and do something for yourself? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And trust in people. We need more, more people we can trust in.
Yeah.
You're the company you keep, that's what they say.
Yep. And I've made sure to try to be intentional about having people around me that, because I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes and things of that nature. But like you said, it's about the people you surround yourself with. And it's not necessarily always just about, well, what can I gain? What can I get from them? What can I, just being connected to people who are in a positive light and they want to grow, and, y'all can grow together, and just in friendship and everything, like you said, and then networking, like you were mentioning, somebody that you want to connect me with. You never know who's going to cross your path. So just trying to be open and honest. And I think being just true, like you said, being true to yourself, and letting things just be organic so that you can, and authentic, being
Yeah.
very authentic, because sometimes people get caught up in the hype of like, oh, well, like I wrote a book. Yeah, I wrote a book. Does that make me a millionaire? It does not.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I took the time, the money, the energy to put out something that can be something worth that's more than all of the money in the world, because somebody could read. I've had people come to me and be like, I read your book. And
Yeah.
when I
It's
tell
good.
you, like even people in the church, they was like, that wouldn't outwardly say that. They came to me and was like, wow, you really touched me, and you sparked something in me. And people that I don't even know are like, you are bold and strong enough to even say that. And I don't even feel that way.
Man.
I just know that I just was trying to, I had a burning fire in me to do this and to birth this. And so I'm glad that it's done its job.
Yeah, and like you said,
Me
at the
too.
end of the day, one thing nobody can take away from you, you are an author. That's what I say to myself. Yes, we're not millionaires. We haven't sold a billion copies of our books,
Right.
but our books are out here to help. Mine is to help children, and in
Yeah.
a certain way, yours is to help someone who's been through the same thing. You're not the only 16-year-old that had to get their child up. So maybe somebody else is hurting and need to see this book.
Yeah.
And to tell their truth. So we're not chasing the bag. We're just trying to make a difference. And that's how I look
Definitely.
at it. I tell people all the time, I give more than I receive.
Yes.
And that's just the truth. That's the bottom line. So it's not like we're just doing this to, put
Right.
attention on ourselves, or we're doing this to get
New York
famous,
Times bestseller, right?
right, or just to be famous, or we're doing this because we have a heart for it. You have a
Yeah.
heart for it. I have a heart for it, and
Yeah.
that's when we know that when God is in it, it's going to be blessed no matter what. And then you get people that don't even support you. I always talk about this. I come on here all the time talk about support. You get
Yeah.
people that won't even, but they'll support something crazy or something else. But
Hmm.
someone wrote on their page today, and it was so funny. One of my friends, she was like, it's a shame that, people that or people around you that don't support you, but they'll support something else that, and if people are your friend, and if people are, they're in an agreement of what you're doing. I don't
Yeah.
understand how long it takes to share something, how long it takes to like something, how long is it to tell somebody
Yeah.
about what you're doing, or so just thank God for the people that support. And that's what I do. I thank
Yeah.
God for all the people that support, and the other ones that I see that don't. Okay. Because what happens is people, when you get where you're going, then that's when everybody want to say, I know her, or
Okay.
they want to be on your wagon.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be like, ain't no room. I mean, I'm not being mean, but
It's not about being mean. It's just about being honest. And it's about, the blood, sweat, and tears you put into something. And you don't have to beg. The people who respect you and the people that are like really honor your craft, they, and your mission, they'll be there. And then the ones, like you say, who aren't, they're not. And it's okay, because everybody's not, we aren't meant for everybody. When I was as the labor doula and through my journey, my mentor taught me, she was like, it's okay. You're not supposed to be everybody's labor doula. Like, you're not meant for everybody.
right,
And they aren't meant for you. And so while y'all might have a great conversation, you might find, things in common, or they might really like you, you might not be for them.
right,
And so it's okay that I'm not for you, because there's somebody out there that I am for, that my spirit, my story is for them, and it's gonna matter one way or another. So like you said, you just keep pushing your vision, somebody will connect, and somebody will be like, oh, okay, and like you said, it's unfortunate that it's not the people that are closest to you all the time.
You know, it's going to
But
be somebody we don't know. And let me tell you, Willie Moore Jr. told a story, and I know you
yes,
know him. So he
yes.
was telling the story that he was trying to do this film, and it cost
Hmm.
$50,000 to do this film. Man, he had so much heartache and pain trying to get the money, trying to get people to donate. It was so hard.
Yeah.
And one day, a man of God, a pastor that he didn't even know, wrote him a check for $50,000. And that's somebody he didn't know. So I always think in my head, somebody about to bless me that I don't know.
Okay.
I'm waiting on that stranger to bless me, and it's going to be somebody I don't know. And that's what he said. So don't despise people you don't know, because
Right.
it's always somebody watching and liking what you do, and
Yeah.
God gonna send that one, and that
Yes.
one is gonna be the one.
Yes. 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 So I am so, it's okay, just take it's baby steps, and it's a process to everything. So it's not like overnight something's just gonna, happen, or it could. You just never know. Like I say, you keep your options open, you keep your mind open, your heart open, and just really try to stay consistent
Right.
and prayerful, and ask God to open your heart and to stay focused. So because
So
sometimes it get hard. You be
yes,
like
it gets very hard.
so frustrated.
So tell everybody where they can find this book.
So this is what it looks like if you can't see in the corner. And I'm wearing my shirt. Yay!
Yay.
It's Coping with Adoption, a memoir, and it has my full name, Maya M. Thomas, and it's on Amazon.
So
So you just type me in, and you'll just, you'll find me. And it has a good like 4 or 5 stars. A lot of people actually
yay.
like reading it.
I
And
love it.
thank you so much. It's a short read. It's
Yeah.
not long. It's like really, it's a lot of I jam packed a lot of stuff in here. A lot of stuff I couldn't put in, but I feel like you'll be satisfied. Like you'll get the full
You
picture.
will, guys. You will. I read the book. It's wonderful. And I'm just so proud of Maya. Like I said, I've known her since she was a little girl and just watch her grow. And then, like I said, she disappeared. And I don't know how we reconnected, but I'm so glad I think you
I don't
see
know.
me on, did you see me on Instagram or Facebook? I just,
One of the two we reached, we connected. I don't even remember. But the point is that from 16 to 20, what I think we talked like last year or something like
yeah.
that, 28, 29. So that's some time and some
Yeah. And we
years.
just connected and just hit it off. And I mean, I'm just so happy for what she's going through. At the bottom, you guys, I got on the screen where you can follow her on her IG at
Yes.
Baby Bump and
And
Beyond
beyond.
2021.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, this was great. I think we're gonna do a part two because it's more you need to share. But yeah, we got to do a part two one day. So we do, because I
Okay.
really want people to really get to know who you are and just what you're doing as a young lady. Come on now, you're doing your thing, and if nobody ever told you, I'm proud of what you're doing, and I'm sure a lot of people who will watch this show will be, surprised of what you're doing. And you just keep going, Maya. I mean, I'm much older. I got to keep telling myself. Sometimes we got to encourage ourselves, girl. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh God, where it's gonna come from? I gotta buy books. I got new stuff coming
Okay,
out.
I get it. I get it.
Yes,
People think that this is like
girl.
like overnight. You like gonna just be like, "Whoo, here I
The
am."
money just gonna fall from the sky. Girl.
No, like, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay because you get around people who sometimes know more than you. Sometimes actually you the one in the room who knows more than the other people. So just giving them that information so they'll know. Like I've met so many people who don't know how to set up an LLC. I've met so many people who don't know like tax stuff,
Right.
information, and just connecting to know, like you said, knowing how to budget, knowing how to, if you want to be a nonprofit, what does that look like? Knowing
I
all
can
of these.
tell you.
Okay. It's a lot, and you have to be like, it might be a slow grind or it might be a fast grind. I don't know, depending on what you're doing. But at the end of the day, like if you put in the work,
It'll
and it
pay
might not
off.
happen the first year, the second year, the third
Or
year,
the third.
or the third, you're like, what is it
Yeah, let
doing?
me tell you, I just talked to a lady that's real close to me that actually helped me with mine. And she's been up, I think, 4 years, and this is the first time she's starting to see some things. And another lady that I met, it took her and her husband 6 years to get big grants and big donations, and 6 years, and I'm like, wow. But they're there now. They do so much, and they have the revenue. They have, they're even doing it full time, and I'm like, wow. But the thing is, watch and learn from people. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to watch people and watch how they do it. So
right, because thinking you know everything, I always tell my friends, my homegirls, like, I don't know everything, and I'm okay to say I don't know, and I tap into people who do know, because they're going to tell me something. I'm going to hear something. It might not be everything they say, but something they say is going to be like, I got it. I got it. Okay, I got that. I'm gonna follow with that, and I'm gonna, go look into that, and then do your own research, do your own homework, because
do your own homework.
Just don't believe just because somebody throws something in your lap and says, "Hey, this is what it is." Like,
Well, I'm so
thank you.
I'm so glad you were here. I'm gonna call you after the show. We're gonna connect. I'm gonna connect you with some people, but keep doing what you're doing, and I know that God is He has something great for you, and just keep pushing. Don't stop. Okay. So thank you so much, Maya, and it's good to see you. Okay, I'll call you. Okay. Bye, everyone, and thank you guys. We went over a little bit. Thank you for joining us today, and please follow Maya at her IG Baby Bump and Beyond. And please, you guys, go support her and get the book. Get the book and read her story. She's on Amazon. So thank you, Maya. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, you guys. See you guys in 2 weeks.